not so long ago, I had a really enjoyable, very interesting conversation with Ann Elborn, a former Wellington counsellor with 30 years working in mental health, who in her final years became concerned by the counselling profession's embrace of gender ideology. When she expressed her concern, she was accused of transphobia. She believed the profession is being silenced by gender ideology that agreed, and other counsellors agreed with her, although quietly. Now, more recently, the Free Union speech has highlighted the case of Matthew, an NZAC registered counsellor who has received a serious complaint to the Ethics Committee from colleagues regarding his so-called, well, it's challenging, of gender-affirming care. Matthew's a counsellor with decades of experience. He's respected by clients and has committed his career to the well-being of others. 21 separate complaints have been laid against him, not by clients, not by families who feel let down, but by his fellow counsellors. His offence, speaking openly about the counselling profession's adoption of gender-affirming ideology. And actually worse, he dared to question it. It is my pleasure, though, to welcome back to the show Ann Elborn. Ann, good afternoon. Lovely to see you.
Lovely to be back, Leah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ann. Now, look, for those that did not see or hear our first interview, although it got, people really did enjoy it, could you give us a brief recap of your history and what brought you to meet me and for us to chat?
Right. Well, I had been concerned about gender-affirming care for some years. I think that there was good reason to be concerned about it. I tried bringing it to the attention of my colleagues through the New Zealand Association of Counsellors Facebook page. So I made a few posts over a period of about 4 years, just challenging gender-affirming care and raising the CAS review when the final report came out. I posted an article from staff about the Ministry of Health's decision, or not decision, but telling clinicians to be very cautious about prescribing puberty blockers because they were looking to restrict them. And whenever I posted, there was a pile-on. Very often the posts were taken down. I was accused of transphobia. In the last post I wrote earlier this year, I was told I was an unsafe and unethical practitioner by people who didn't even know me and certainly didn't know anything about my practice. So that's what we kind of talked about last time I was on.
Yeah. So, Ann, are you fully, have you retired or are you still doing some counselling?
Fully retired.
Yeah.
I've been retired for 3 years, but I was a member of the association up till early May this year.
Okay, right. So I know you can't talk about or talk to Matthew's case, but I mean, did you know of him?
I know who he is.
Right.
I can't talk about Matthew's case, but at the same time he received his complaint, I also received a complaint by the same 21 counsellors. They called for my permanent deregistration. They obviously hadn't known that I'd already resigned from the association, but this is a very, very serious request to have the Ethics Committee deregister me, which they could do.
Could they do it even though you're retired?
No, they can't.
No.
So the Ethics Committee on the...
Yep, keep going. Sorry, Ann, you go.
The Ethics Committee, had I still been a member, could have taken that action. The complaint was dated the 28th of February or thereabouts, and the Ethics Committee had become aware that I'd resigned, so they still sent me the complaint and said that if I ever tried to rejoin again, the case would be reopened.
That's
so
ridiculous.
I'm very happy. talk about that
Yes, no,
complaint.
that's what we will talk about. I just want to go back a step, Anne, if that's all right.
Yeah.
You say about a month before our interview, you had resigned from the NZAC. Then, roughly 2 weeks after the interview, you were hit with multiple complaints,
Yeah.
and you've just said it was 21 counsellors. Well, Matthew got 21. Where's these 21 counsellors from?
Okay. It was one complaint, although there were a number of issues with the complaint, signed by 21 counsellors.
All right. So one complains,
It's a
they all
good,
jump on.
yeah. It's a good question. Another thing, you see, this is a very ominous turn. What's happened? It's all very well having your post cancelled and being called transphobic. Don't get me wrong, that's very troubling.
Yeah.
But to actually make serious complaints about colleagues and call for them to be permanently deregistered, that's seriously going to affect your livelihood and your
Of course.
reputation.
So obviously, in your case, they didn't know that you were no longer working, yet they still wanted you to
No.
be permanently deregistered, which is shocking.
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
tell us
I-
what claims they made to call for this?
Well,
What
they
had
made
you
a-
done, Anne?
They made a lot of claims, some of them which were absolutely untrue. One of the claims they made was that I had done no training in working with gender diverse clients or trans clients. Now, that's completely untrue. I'd attended all 4 webinars offered by New Zealand Association of Counsellors, 3 of which were run by Inside Out. All of them were about gender affirming care. I'd also attended a conference in 2023, I think it was, where internationally renowned author and psychotherapist Stella O'Malley presented on gender exploratory therapy. So I had done some training in it. So that claim was patently untrue. They said they had grave concerns for my past clients and present clients. So clearly they had no idea I hadn't seen a client for 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
They also used in a 6-page complaint the word harm or harmful 34 times. They said that I talked about the cash review, which is they claim is being discredited, but I could talk to that and the evidence they produced for that, and maybe we will do that. There were really only 2 bits of concrete evidence that they submitted to the Ethics Committee. One was the post I'd written. The other was a photo of me, my lesbian sister and her partner out at an event that I'd used as a profile profile picture on Facebook for a short time. And I was wearing a T-shirt, which they said was a TERF T-shirt. Now, Leah, I'm going to stand up now because I'm wearing the T-shirt for your yes, a little bit of action here. Now, can you see that T-shirt?
Yes, I can.
So it's
Okay.
really the T-shirt's about saying women have been called all sorts of nasty things as slurs in the past. We've got witch, we've got BITCH, we've got SLUT, and then TERF, and they're all crossed out, and at the bottom is woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's a great T-shirt.
The picture of myself and my sister, a lesbian sister, I might add, was presented as evidence against me for a very serious complaint calling me to be deregistered. Now, I probably wouldn't have put that poster up on my Facebook profile if I was still working, but it was 2 years after I'd retired.
Yes. So it goes to the Ethics Committee. There's 6 pages that are put forward using your name, harm or harmful use 34 times. They're calling for you to be deregistered, even though you retired 3 years ago. So they've got all these things wrong. It's very dangerous, though. What was your response when you spoke? Did you get to speak? Did you get to counter all these claims?
Well, I was told I didn't have to respond because I was no longer a member of the association. And I actually toyed around with it for a while as to what I might do. And I did respond. I wrote back to the ethics secretary. She has yet to pass it on to the ethics committee, although I've asked her to do so. She says she's going to present it at their annual meeting in November. And I slammed them. I told them I thought it was a vexatious complaint, which it is. I also said that I thought it was harassment, again raising the issue of the T-shirt, and that it was against the Bill of Rights. I said that I should be free to speak on these issues, that all the experts I used in my post are highly credible.
Yep.
I mentioned the Cass Review, I mentioned the University of York, I mentioned a really fabulous psychiatrist who's also a psychotherapist called Hazim, who's based in England, and he's worked for over 20 years with transgender people, offering group therapy to these people, and he's got a lot of real insights into people who are having these difficulties. So I mentioned him. And I also mentioned a psychologist who worked at the Tavistock Clinic, which was closed down due to concerns, who was gay. And he said that he was very concerned that the kids being seen at the Tavistock Clinic were being fast-tracked into transing, and that he was concerned that gay kids were going down that track rather than just coming to terms with being same-sex attracted.
Yes. So, so the NZAC, so you've had nothing back from them. So where do you go now? I mean, you've told us this, and again, I think it's quite hideous what they're doing.
It's a very good question. There is one other thing I would like to mention, because I believe it's now fair to claim that New Zealand Association of Counsellors is actually institutionally captured. A while back, within the last year or two, there was a rainbow advisory group set up, and it's all a bit mysterious about who they are. I haven't been able to find out who they are, but in the New Zealand Association of Counsellors annual general report, they mentioned that they've met 5 or so times, and that one of the key focus has been on identifying counsellors who are guilty of transphobia, which is really concerning, because that now means this what I call a witch hunt, which I accuse the Ethics Committee of being conducted against me, is now institutionalised. Now, in terms of where we go now, I mean, this is very, very serious. Before, people might have not felt comfortable bringing up challenging gender-affirming care.
Yeah.
Now it's downright threatening one's livelihood, because you will likely end up with a serious complaint. Unfortunately, NZAC isn't registered under the Health Practitioners Act. It's an independent body. But I would suggest that if people feel able to write to the President of NZAC, copy in the Minister of Health, Matt Ducey, mention Matthew's case and my case. So there are 2 of us who have received these complaints, these sort of complaints, just for questioning gender-affirming care, and that there needs to be an investigation into this. I think it's also would be good if people are so inclined to write to NZAC to say that as a consumer, as a potential consumer of mental health services, you would like other options available. Especially if you have children or grandchildren, you would like, yes.
No, I'm just going to say that I'm thinking that, if you do now want to see a counsellor, have someone, you've got questions, or you've got questions about someone in your family, like you said about gender affirming questions, this could be that the counsellors will now have to basically say, no, well, no, you are trans, and point you in that direction.